Timmy opens up Studio and immediately gets distracted. He doesn't know what to do, so he ends up bouncing around every corner of the internet trying to find out how to do the simplest things in Studio.
What are you doing, Timmy?
The greatest Roblox developer, Lord Regulus, appears in his glory.
Timmy, let me show you the first step to scripting. Learn variables first. It's easy. A variable stores a value. Anything, a part, a word, anything in Studio. Start learning the basics first.
I see now. It's becoming all so easy.
Well, here we go. I haven't made a scripting video in a while, but I'm back at it to refresh your knowledge and provide an in-depth look at every single aspect in scripting that I can cover. The easiest beginner guide to scripting was a hit, currently sitting at almost 700,000 views, which is mind-blowing. So this new series is going to help you whether you're a scripting pro or just starting out, especially adding on to your skill set and knowledge if you've seen the first guide. So let's go. Open up Studio and let's get into the first video. We're going to make a base plate. All right, so let's start. Let's go ahead and make a script. So I'm going to go into server script service, which is where our scripts are stored inside our game. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus here, and I'm going to add a script. And there we go. So what are variables for? Variables are definitely one of the first things you should learn in scripting because they're so simple. And all they do is they represent a specific set of information with just one word. And you can go and access that later in the script. You need variables because if we're constantly accessing everything directly, you're going to have to type out all this extra code like script.parent.parent.parent, blah, 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 blah. We don't want to do this. We want to just make one word where we have written whatever piece of information it is into one thing that we can access throughout the whole script or throughout whatever section we're doing. So I'm going to show you how to make a variable. So let's start by making a new variable. So local var equals 1. So what is this? This is a variable called var. This is just a short version of variable. This variable equals 1. So now anytime we're just type var plus 1, we could say local var2 equals var plus 1. Okay, so what are we doing here? Ignore this for now. This is var, it equals 1. But now, later in the script, we're going down and we're making another variable. It's called var2. And this is now var plus 1. So what this is going to put out is 2 because var is equal to 1. This is just basically 1 plus 1. This is a simple example, but a variable can't just hold numbers and math. A variable can also hold any type of data in Roblox Studio. It can hold a Boolean, which is a true or false value. It can hold a line of text, which is called a string in scripting, or it can hold an object, instance, or other object in Roblox Studio. It can also hold tables and other data sets, but you don't need to worry about all of those yet. So let's get into how to use variables. So first, let's look at predefining a variable. You can set the definition of a variable. You can set it equal to something, right? So local blue part equals instance.new, and so instance.new just creates something new, and we can put whatever type of instance in here, which is an instance, again, is any type of object that is able to be created in Roblox Studio. Now, this variable has been defined. It's been defined as this new part we've created, but you can also create a variable and we can actually say local blue part and we can leave it as this. So now this variable exists, but it is not predefined or set as something already. This means that later in the script, we can actually go ahead and set blue part equals instance.new part. So we have local blue part, our variable, which is not predefined. This variable is an undefined variable. And later we go on to set it equal to this new part. We could even have a wait. So task.wait 5. So now this variable is created by the script. Then, only 5 seconds later, do we go ahead and create the part and define this variable. So this gets more useful as you start to learn more scripting and use it later, because there's many times when you need a variable to exist, but you don't need to use it right away or have it be defined right away. So you can go ahead and define it later in the code when you're using it. So a great example for this is saying that a variable is an empty box that can hold something. I believe I saw this in a YouTube comment. Defining a variable is like putting something in a box. A variable is an empty box. So this is our empty box here, right? It can hold anything. So by defining it, we're putting something inside of this box. So we're putting a part inside of this box, this variable. So this should help you to understand this concept a little bit. Now we can look at some other things. So properties, right? What are properties? Well, if you're familiar with building, which I recommend getting familiar with building before you get too deep into scripting, because you'll learn some important things. But whenever we go back here and we go ahead and create a part by going to model, I'm clicking part. This part has properties. So brick color, cast shadow, material. These are all properties. And not only can we edit these from out here, we can actually edit them inside of our script as well. So we've created this part, right? So blue part dot parent, and the parent is whatever it's inside of. So we'll add this to workspace, game.workspace. And by default, when you use instance.new to create something, the parent is nil or nothing. Nil means nothing in scripting. And so by doing this, we're changing it from being parented to nothing to being parented to game.workspace. It is now inside game.workspace. And we can take this further by setting the position. And a lot of people in the beginner guide to scripting were having an issue with creating a part because when they were creating a part, it was spawning like inside of this, or it was spawning inside the base plate or something because they didn't set the position. So what you want to do is create this position, and positions are saved in this object we called vector3s. So if we go ahead and type vector3.new and we write 0, 10, 0. This is going to go ahead and spawn it 10 studs in the air. And this is the X, the Y, and the Z. So X is going along the X axis, which will move it this way. So Z is depth, X is side to side, and Y is up and down in Roblox Studio. So this is good to know when we're working with vector 3s. So now this part's going to spawn out of the sky and it's going to be 10 studs in the air. So yeah, that should clear that up for properties, but we'll get more into this type of stuff later in other videos. So now I want to get into strings. So I'm going to go ahead and just clear this out. What are strings? As we said earlier, strings are a line of text, and this is what a line of text is in scripting. A line of text is stored with quotations. So blue part can equal quotations, blue part. Now it's equal to this line of text that says blue part. It's not really equal to part, it's equal to text, blue part. But we can set variables to be equal to text. We can set variables to be equal to anything. So if we set it equal to a string, we can go ahead and use this text later. So say we wrote like a bunch of stuff in this, right? Now we don't have to type this out every time. We can go later on our script and we can use it. So we can go ahead and say print blue part, right? So I'm sorry if this variable name is getting confusing, but it's just printing this text. So instead of having to write this every single time, we can have this print, and we can have it print infinite times. We're printing this big long line of text. So this should kind of put it into perspective how variables are very necessary in scripting. We don't want to be typing tons of stuff out over and over, and we want to be able to use it. So what does print do? Well, print just puts a little line of text into our output, and you can see our output by going to view output, and it's going to go ahead and write it in here. And what are prints for? Prints are for debugging your code. So whenever, let's say we want to make sure that this wait work, like sometimes if there's like one little typo in here, like anything like that, it's gonna go ahead and have a error in our code. So if I go ahead and I say print, and instead change this to some text, a string, wait finished successfully, we go ahead and we can see that yes, this happened successfully, and we're gonna go ahead and see that in our output. And no, this is not seen by players. So yeah, this is just for debugging your code. So let's remove all this junk. And yeah, later in this series, we're gonna go ahead and use variables more. This was just a general look at the concept, but you can go ahead and watch the beginner guide to Roblox scripting on screen now. And if the next video in this series is out, click the video on screen to go ahead and see that and learn the next step in scripting and see what Timmy does on his journey next.